It's a beautiful day. The morning after we all learned Brazilian Yoga Benito Samba Boy football is going to link up with Kel Palmer, and maybe every little thing's going to be alright. Of course, I don't want to take too much from a pre-season friendly, but I was worried after Chelsea's lack of rest after the Club World Cup final, how we're going to look, how the application's going to look, how the new signings are going to look, and I must say, it's looking ruddy good. So, there you go, the widget's popped up by itself. Welcome to Football Therapy, thanks for joining me. Why not like and subscribe, join the fun over here on Football Therapy. You're all most welcome. Yeah, so today we're speaking about the new signings, but we're also speaking about those quotes from Chelsea manager Enzo Maresca, who essentially said, yeah, signing a centre-back is a priority when being interviewed on DAZN / Channel 5 by Alex Aljo, asking him about the injury to Levi Colwill. Is signing a centre-back a priority? And even though he didn't directly looking down the camera holding the mic saying, yes, for me, signing a central defensive player is a priority. He said, yeah, it is, because Levi's injured, and we're going to have to do something. So he pretty much essentially confirmed that he would like to sign a new defender. We're going to get into that a little bit again today. I personally think Marc Guéhi, as a really, really excellent and experienced centre-back with 12 months left on his deal and no inclination, an indication that he's going to re-sign with Crystal Palace. But for me, it would have to be done like today, and you'd have to really sweeten the deal with Crystal Palace, give them quite a lot of money so that they could go and sign a replacement for him. Of course, they're playing tomorrow against Liverpool in the Community Shield, of course, as FA Cup winners. And they'll want, your Eze's and your Guéhis there. But to be honest, if they think, right, like we could do with a bit of money for one reason or another, I'm not sure why they'd need it. I know they've been demoted to the Europa Conference League as opposed to what they qualified for in the Europa League, which they'll be really annoyed for because you earn less money. And probably the most notable point here is Crystal Palace could 100% win the Europa League. I know I'm going off on a fleeting tangent here, but 1000%. Look at the final last season. It was a disgrace. Yes, a couple of big names in Manchester United and Tottenham, but it was an absolute stinkfest. One of the worst finals I've seen, settled by one of the worst goals you will see in a 1-0 win. Chelsea's final against Real Betis in the lower tier competition was a much better and much higher quality football match. So Crystal Palace will look at that and be like, well, we could have won the Europa League, an excellent European trophy, and, go from winning their first ever trophy in the FA Cup, winning a really respectable European trophy, and then qualifying for the Champions League, because they're not going to finish top 4 or top 5. But they could win the Europa League and qualify for the Champions League, which would be absolute dreamland. So I just wanted to speak about that briefly, because you can understand why the big boy over there, Steve Parish, is fuming. Because he was like, yeah, mate, he's a bit cockney, isn't he? Why is he a cockney? Bit of London geezer. He's probably from Croydon. So, yeah, man, they'll be frustrated. But what are they thinking with Ollie Glasner? They want to keep Guéhi, they want to keep Eze and go again. But I suppose if they are certain they are going to lose Marc Guéhi on a free transfer next summer, make no money for him, and of course there'll be no inclination to sell him in January, because regardless, they are on a European tour. So get your centre-back in, whoever it is, and keep them. Continuity. I think with time still left in the window, with probably Palace doing due diligence on looking at potential replacements should a bid come in, because it would be remiss not to. And again, I listened to an Athletic podcast. Forgive me. It was the Rest is Football podcast with Gary Lineker. He had Steve Parish on. He was talking. He's like, yeah, look, guys, we're always looking at players. We're always ready for these things. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I can imagine they've got someone lined up. Ollie Glasner, the manager's probably thinking, I like this centre-back, I like this centre-back, I like this centre-back. If something happens, £40 million for Marc Guéhi, we go sign this guy for 25 million in the continent who's excellent and will suit my needs. That's what I think should happen. And with Maresca pretty much saying, yeah, he's a priority. I genuinely, guys, I know it sounded reactionary from me early doors as soon as that Colwell ACL injury news came out that he's going to be out for 6 to 12 months, majority of the season. And when he comes back, you can't be like, here you go, slam dunk you into the starting lineup in important games, hopefully deep in the Champions League. It's just not going to work like that, you know? Maybe by the end of the season, he's rotated in well and he might be a starter again. But that is like, maybe. We know how important Levi Colwill is. He's super, super important. Look, we're going to speak about the new signings in the second half of the video. But Hatto is earmarked as a left side. I think because there's such a unique instruction from the Chelsea manager for that left back role, the inverting into central defensive midfield, the inverting into the left pocket, that either maybe tucking in and making a left centre back, which will be perfect for Hatto, or in a free, should I say, very different to a left in a two, and of course holding the width and go forward. Hatto can do all that. Teach him all the roles. Let him integrate into Maresca's football. Don't mess about. Don't be like, oh, now you're going to learn the left centre back role, where sometimes you do this, sometimes you do that. It's different. Just don't scramble his brain. We need a really, really adept deputy to Cucurella, who can step in and do all the difficult tactical instructions that he can. Don't jumble his brain, because otherwise it reduces what we've done with him. It dilutes the plan with getting Cucurella an amazing deputy, in the same way with Dario Asugo and Caicedo. Again, we'll speak about him in a moment. So that bearing in mind, yes, Trev Chalobah's an amazing pro, but he played in that friendly against Ten Hag's Leverkusen in the left centre-back role. It makes you think, yeah, he can do that, no worries, you know, ain't no thang, as it were. But for us to truly challenge, we're going to need proper specialist players now. That's the difference. That's what we're aiming for here. So we're going to wait for that, basically. And yeah, okay, you guys dropped your comments, who you thought will be appropriate. I saw a few good shouts in the comments in the last video, so feel free to leave your comments in this video who you think Chelsea should go for. I'm sort of doing my own personal, maybe hopeless campaign for Marc Guéhi, but I think he's gettable. I think he's there. I think although he's a right footer, he's a left-sided centre-back, mostly. And I really, really would like him. By the way, pour one out for X Value, because my membership has, I believe, expired. I'm just looking at it now. Although I can still get it. Apparently I can still get it. That's interesting, because it was supposed to have expired today. I want to find out, because that's thousands of pounds that I don't want to be renewing. But yeah, quickly, I'll show you. Here we go. Marc Guéhi's X Value page, as you can see here on his heat map. He's a left-sided defender. He's a left-sided defender, very good at passing, very good at aerials, precisely what we need. Someone presence in the box. The left-sided defender, Levi Colwill, incredible at passing. That is what he's been shown really good at. Left-sided player, really good at passing, great in the air. And of course, he's a leader. They call him Uncle Mark, don't they? In expected threats from passing, very strong. They call him Uncle Mark in the England setup. Leadership, next to Hatto, who apparently brings leadership. I would go for him. Obviously, I wouldn't be like 60, 70 million, but a guy with 12 months left in his deal that you know you're going to lose, I would genuinely waive 40, 50 million pounds at him. I wouldn't care, right, if this was last season. But there's a moment here, there's potential. People are looking at Chelsea. The fallout from yesterday's friendly game is TalkSport, YouTube channels, everyone going, "Oh, Chelsea, they look serious, they're going to challenge." So let's live up to the hype, and let's put in a real show of intent by getting in that important left-sided cover. It doesn't mean Colwill's over. Colwill and Guéhi can, in the same way we've got two players for each position, high-quality options. We didn't really, with the greatest of respects to Benoit Badiashile, we didn't have that one on the left-hand side. This is it. Let me know your thoughts on that. Now, I did want to spend some time and talk about the new signings, because it looks like we've had an absolute blinder. It does look like we've had an absolute blinder, I must say. Because they all look great. First of all, Yoel Hatto. I know obviously we saw him in a fleeting moments, but from everything we've heard, like the analysis, the sort of character, psychological report, he is a leader, loads of experience, loads of first team caps, like over 100. Like I said, captained Ajax in Europe, which as a 17-year-old, which is, I know it's their like history, their sort of legacy doing that with young players, but still incredible when you wear a captain's armband for a big club like Ajax and the senior team in Europe at 17. By the time you're 19, you've seen it all, you know. So very, very impressive indeed. He looks good. Dario Asugo. I think in my match review I didn't speak enough about Dario Asugo because he does look like he can do all the Caicedo destruction stuff in terms of covering ground. You can tell exactly why you bought him. In the same way, Jurel Hato was such an important signing to cover Cucurella. Because Chelsea's two best players last season, and yes, Cole Palmer's our most talented and best player, but in terms of who won best player of the season, who was probably second, it was Caicedo and Cucurella. And what are we talking about now? The two deputies that we've added to cover those superstar players that we didn't have before. Jurel Hato for Cucurella. Relax, we're covered. And Dario Asugo for Caicedo. Caicedo played all the minutes last season. He was always available, and we always said, oh God, imagine if he gets injured. Touchwood, would be screwed if he was injured. He didn't get injured. He made it through. And again, similarly like Cucurella, didn't get injured, made it through. And now we've got a deputy. And the Dario Asugo, he looks like he can completely execute that role incredibly well. Look, he's not necessarily as good as Caicedo. I don't expect him to score from the halfway line. I don't expect him to do quite the extent of magical performance that Caicedo can do. But for a young player coming on who's just, recently come to the Chelsea team, he of course was involved in the Club World Cup and is sort of integrating culturally, socially. He looks good, doesn't he? He looks like he will literally be left behind all the attackers to cover and they'll trust him. And then you've got way more players to cook and execute wonderfully moving forwards. Similarly, Jamie Gittens, of course, is a player that we got our first look at in the Leverkusen game. I kept referencing people who know a lot more about Bundesliga football than me, Seb Stafford-Bloor of The Athletic, these men, and they were all like, yeah, Gittens is incredibly exciting. Naturally, we got all excited about, the Brazilian boys, Estevão and João Pedro, of course, because they're like scoring goals and looking incredible and, samba dancing. And this is what we want. We want Joga Benito back at the bridge. But Gittens, is just a 20-year-old, 21 yesterday, I think. Happy birthday. Young English player that played a bit for Dortmund and was out of favour and cost a lot of money, £48 million. So a lot of people are like, why are we getting Gittens and Garnacho? These are so underwhelming targets, yada, yada, yada. And I kind of understood it from without the uninitiated perspective. And then, of course, everyone was like, oh, but, Delap's good and João Pedro is very exciting. And, Estevão's coming in and it's really great. But the truth is, Jamie Gittens is absolute mustard, mate. People that, again, know a lot more about football than I've heard speaking about him in terms of his dynamism, 1v1 ability, get you off your seat, which we think, well, we've got enough of that with Cole Palmer and the other guys, but he will get you off your seat more than Mudryk, more than Jadon Sancho did, and more than even Noni Madueke did. And I think Noni Madueke has caught a lot of heat lately for leaving us for a rival, and people are like, yeah, we didn't want him anyway, he was no good, and we made loads of money. But Noni's credit, he had moments where he skinned opponents and looked good. We will get that a lot more with a younger player in Jamie Gittens, and he looks ready as well. Like, he looks sort of primed, like, this is my moment, I'm at Chelsea now, I'm joining the party, and boy, what a ruddy party. Yeah, in terms of the forwards, Delap, I know Delap didn't get a high sofa score rating and he didn't score. He forced 2 good saves, he had 2 good moments. He looks like the striker profile that we know he is, this sort of transitional, bit of a bully boy, but he will fight for Chelsea, he'll drag the team up the pitch, he won't do anything stupid, he'll hit the ball hard on target, he will score goals for Chelsea. Now, if you said to me at the end of last season, before I knew we were definitely going to sign Delap and before we were properly being linked with João Pedro, if you said, Jan, you're going to sign both Delap and João Pedro, who's going to score more? Well, I would have seen Delap scored 12 goals for Ipswich. Was it 10 non-penalty goals as well? Anyway, but you looked at the chances, you got exactly like, I think half the chances Jackson did, or something like that. But if you doubled the chances he's got, he would have got 20 Premier League goals. And of course, he'd be playing in a Chelsea team. And João Pedro didn't really score goals, and I saw him less of a striker, more of an attacking midfielder. I would go, yeah, well, Delap's obviously going to score more goals than João Pedro. But in reality, seeing it in practice in the Chelsea team, Delap looks like he's going to be a really useful physical striker, helping us in transition, helping us move up the pitch, beating up the opposition, being a presence. And João Pedro looks like Chelsea starting striker that has the, you know, the Brazilian brilliance, ability to link up with Palmer-Guiu, the other man, and he will score goals. And it looks like João Pedro has just been waiting for the right club to be like, yeah, I'm going to score loads of goals now. Do you know what I mean? He looks like a goal scorer. And to be honest, we don't even need him to be... Oh, hold on, my door, one sec. Sorry about that, Amazon man. Yes, so with João Pedro, it's like... Looking at his history, like, yeah, he's not going to be a goal scorer, but he looks like he's starting to pop off at Chelsea, that he's found his comfort zone with shooting, but most notably, you know, he doesn't need to be like an Erling Haaland. Maresca himself has said quite a few times recently, he'd rather have loads of players that score than, well, naming Erling Haaland. It was like Haaland that you rely on all the goals to go through him. So, again, if João Pedro is going to be a facilitator, a false nine that makes the likes of Gittins, Sterbau, Palmer, you know, and midfielders score more goals, and that is actually infinitely more valuable. So the strikers, the wingers, the midfielder, the left-back cover, it's all looking pretty good, I must say. And of course, the talk of the town, everyone's speaking about Sterbau. He's, you know, 18-year-old. It's funny that, to me, that I, like many other people, were trying to temper expectations. Would he just be in the crowd yesterday looking on? You know, maybe he'll get 5 minutes at the end, or maybe he doesn't, and maybe the next game he gets 5 minutes at the end and he's just learning. And no, Maresca looked at him and went, yes, thank you very much. Straight in, lad. Straight in with Cole Palmer. He says they're similar players. They are, in terms of, I genuinely think they are just going to swap positions constantly. And they're going to play their two favoured positions, right wing and number 10. So they'll just go whoop, 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 whoop. And then, like, the opposition are going to be like, what the heck are we going to do with these young guys? Because they're both insane. They do look like... I know it's early doors, and we saw it in Pochettino's pre-season with like Nkunku and Jackson and stuff before Palmer was even playing. Oh, these guys have got a telepathic connection, doing back heels and flicks to each other. It's the pre-season vibe, but I think it's more than that, genuinely. I know it's a fleeting look. We'll learn more as time goes on. But it does look like they just have an understanding. They've been waiting to play with each other. They've been talking about each other. And everyone else in football media, especially Chelsea fans, Chelsea fan media, have been saying, we've been waiting to see these two guys play together. And here it ruddy is, ladies and gentlemen. And it's a beautiful thing. Yes, so we're feeling good, guys. As always, let me know your thoughts. There is daily content on this channel, so please do consider liking and subscribing, because you're all welcome here, my guys and gals. Probably mainly guys, but hopefully some gals mixed in there. So thank you for liking and subscribing. And guys, like, loads of people are watching, they're yet to subscribe. So let's just do that. And while you're supporting me, this guy, Football Yannick, the second channel, my new baby, my passion project, my sister, the Strasbourg to my Chelsea. It's the Strasbourg to my Chelsea. Daily content, football content. I'm very close to 20,000 subs. So let's just help me get over the line. If you've got to this far, at the end of the video, it means you like me. So go subscribe to Football Yannick. Alright, mate. Hope you're well. Hope you take care of yourselves. Look after each other. Enjoy the football. Peace.